Most problematic behaviors I see are not caused by bad dogs or people. They're caused instead by well-intended owners following bad, incomplete, and usually oversimplified advice. So in this video I want to go over a few of the very common mistakes and misconceptions that I see over and over again, especially with puppies and young dogs. First of all, let's start with socialization. Socialization is one of the most important things to do with your dog, especially when you just get a new puppy. The critical socialization period happens in the first few months of a dog's life, which is the most important part of that dog's life and will shape the rest of his life. But there's still a lot of debate on when exactly this period is. Some experts claim it's week 3 to 7, others claim it's week 7 to 12, or even up to 16. One thing is for sure though, what happens in this time frame is irreplaceable. This is not uncommon knowledge, and that is not the mistake you will be making. You have very likely heard about this before. The real issue here is that people socialize too much or wrong. Your dog needs rest and a routine as well, and that often gets forgotten. Bringing your dog to all sorts of places every single day can do more harm than good. Instead, you should plan these moments throughout the week, and not too much at once. Routine is very important for a dog because it creates predictability, which in turn lowers stress. A dog that knows what comes next can process new information a lot better, instead of just feeling overwhelmed all the time. If every day is different, every walk a surprise, and every hour something new happens, your puppy never gets a chance to recover. The stress can stack, and stressed dogs do not learn. They just cope. And that's where people confuse exposure with socialization. True socialization is not dragging your puppy everywhere and hoping they just get used to it. Real socialization is controlled, positive, and followed by rest. A new experience, and then back to something familiar. Another common mistake is that a lot of people force interaction during socialization. Your dog does not need to greet every person, dog, or other animal it's walking by. Walking past calmly is often better than saying hello. We don't want our dog to lunge towards everything because he has learned that he needs to greet everything and everyone. Socialization is making sure that our dog knows that most things are just normal. When it comes to socialization, quality beats quantity. A handful of well-planned, calm experiences will do a lot more good than constant chaos. Socialization is not about ticking every box. It's teaching your dog that the world is safe and does not demand a reaction all the time. It's also not about forcing your dog in new scenarios. Instead of just going to a busy market and hoping your dog will be fine with it, forcing your dog in this busy environment, slowly build up to those things and make sure that your dog always has a chance to disengage when he needs to. And of course, always follow new experiences up with plenty of rest. If your dog is always doing something, they are not processing. And sleep is where learning sticks. Same with humans. Sometimes the best thing you can do for your dog's development is nothing. Second up, a topic that's not really about your dog itself, but about dog trainers. When I first started the Econology course, the very first piece of advice in the very first class was to avoid advice from YouTube and social media. Which I know is very ironic since I am here now. But the thing is, you wouldn't go to a doctor without a medical degree, and you wouldn't trust a therapist with zero formal education. Yet in dog training and behavioral work, that's not the exception, sadly, it's the norm. A huge number of trainers, including many of the popular ones on YouTube and social media, have no academic background in behavior, learning theory, or kinology. They learn from another trainer, who learned from another trainer, who learned from another trainer, but often I hear incomplete or false information. Add confidence and a camera, I have the camera but still lacking the confidence, but suddenly bad information becomes very convincing.
Sometimes he hasn't been this trooper here.
He rules the rooster. So you can come.
And that's where real damage can happen. especially in behavioral cases, because many trainers don't resolve the problem, they just suppress it. An aggressive dog might stop reacting not because the underlying cause is addressed, but because the dog has learned that reacting is unsafe or pointless. The owners are happy because the behavior looks fixed, but the dog is not. The stress, fear, or frustration that caused the aggression in the first place is still there. Often even worse, it's just pushed to the background. And suppressed behavior has a habit of resurfacing, usually harder and more unpredictable. And in the end, it's your dog that will pay the price for that. Behavioral work is not about stopping behavior. It's about understanding behavior and knowing why behavior exists in the first place. Always ask a trainer questions about why certain behavior exists. Now, obviously, a lot depends on context and observations. I also can't answer even the basics of questions about a dog issue you might have without first seeing the dog a couple of times and testing what triggers the response. If a trainer can immediately answer why your dog has an issue without taking time to first observe, he's fixing symptoms, not causes. This is why most videos on YouTube that promise you to fix an issue like pulling or barking or whatever else are most likely wrong, or at least incomplete. The solutions offered in those videos might help some dogs, but blanket fixes will never help everyone. And that's why education matters. But of course, so does critical thinking. So does being able to explain learning theory instead of just demonstrating techniques. So don't outsource your thinking. Ask questions. If something can't be explained without buzzwords or authority, be very skeptical. And obviously, education does not guarantee skill. It's a fine line, and that's why it's very difficult and very important to check if you have a trainer that actually knows what he's doing. I'm not trying to throw shade at those trainers without formal education. They might very well be good trainers with a vast understanding of dog behavior, but sadly, as someone that's a head instructor myself and I teach other trainers, I see a lot of gaps in knowledge of people that have been teaching for decades. Next up, let's talk a bit about the crate. The crate is another topic that I see often gets reduced to extremes. A crate is neither good nor bad by itself. It's a tool, and it's an important tool. If used correctly, it helps reduce stress and makes your dog feel safe. A crate should never exist to make a dog easier to manage or to punish your dog misbehaving. If your dog regularly gets crated for your convenience or for punishment, it becomes part of the problem. If used to manage behavior you don't want to deal with, nothing is actually being learned. So what is a crate? Or better, what should a crate be? I touched on this in my last video, so subscribe to not miss any in the future. A crate should be a safe space. And a safe space is something every dog needs. It's a place where the dog knows that if he goes there, he will not be disturbed by anyone. This does not have to be a crate, it could be anything. But a crate is very convenient because dogs naturally feel safer in an enclosed space. Think about wolves. Why do wolves like to rest in caves or in tents when raising their pups? It's because it only has one exit. The wolf doesn't need to be on high alert all the time. He is safe from all sides except one. This is what a crate should do for a dog. Only one entrance with a low roof, but still high enough that your dog can stand up, obviously, and completely enclosed. If your crate is the classical cage type, just put a blanket on top and cover it as much as possible except for the entrance. And if your crate has multiple entrances, make sure there's only one door that is always open, so your dog can freely enter and leave. Another benefit of using the crate is that the crate is very easy to take with you when visiting family, for example. When I say that dogs naturally feel safe in a closed environment, that doesn't mean that you can just buy a crate, shove your dog in it, and he will like it or even be fine with it. You still need to teach your dog that the crate is the safe space. So when you first get your puppy, get a crate, and every time you feed your dog or give your dog a treat, do it in the crate. Encourage sleeping in the crate whenever possible. Even if your dog walks out immediately, which he very likely will do a lot of the time, just try to get him to rest in the crate, and when he does, make sure that everyone leaves him alone. And that's the important part. If your dog is in the crate, everybody leaves him alone. I have given this example in the past already, but for example, Eowyn doesn't like it when I clip her nails. If I clip her nails, I know after 2 or 3 times she will whine a bit, pull her paw away, and run towards the crate. I'm not going to get her out of the crate just to continue clipping her nails. If she's in the crate, I leave her alone, and she knows that. Next mistake, and one I'm also guilty of having done in the past, is rewarding wrong. When you get a puppy, advice you might have heard is that you should reward almost anything. Maybe even feed your dog a bit less just because you will be rewarding so much. And while I do agree with this, a lot of people reward wrong, which can actually do more harm than good. Like I said, I myself am guilty of this as well, or have been guilty of this. So let me give you an example of a mistake I made with Eowyn. When I was first raising her, before I went into dog training myself, I obviously heard this advice as well. And on our daily walk, we always passed by some horses and sheep. And since I didn't know any better, I always gave her a treat when walking towards the horses. Then I would pause next to them, stand still next to the fence, and reward her every so often just because she was being calm. However, what I noticed was that after a while she became reactive and pulled heavily towards horses. In hindsight, this makes sense, since she has linked going to horses with being rewarded. So of course she wants to go towards horses, so she can get rewarded. And this took me a long time to fix. And it could have all been prevented if I just rewarded correctly. Don't reward approaching things. Don't reward just being around things. Reward when you leave, or when you have passed calmly. Another thing I often see people do is reward bad behavior. This year, I have had 3 cases of people wanting help because their dog doesn't stop barking. Well, more cases, but 3 of them had something to do with rewarding wrong, because in all 3 of those cases, I immediately observed the same thing. The dog barks, the owner yells, and then the dog runs to the owner, and then the owner treats because the dog is silent. Now, from the owner's perspective, they were trying to reward the calm behavior after the barking. But from the dog's perspective, they just got rewarded for the barking. The dog knows that if he barks, the owner will yell, "shut up," or whatever, and then the dog already runs towards the owner just to accept the treat. An analogy someone once told me is that if I say my daughter has to be home by midnight and she's too late, what would happen if I call her and tell her that she will get 100 euros or dollars if she comes home right now? Do you think she will be on time the next time? Or would she maybe be late on purpose, hoping to get another call? And this is what we do with our dogs. Don't reward stopping of bad behavior. Instead, observe your dog, especially if you're going into a situation where you can expect him to bark, and try to prevent the behavior. You can use treats for this to make sure his attention is on you, but never reward the barking. If you're too late and the dog has barked, and you tell him to shut up, he comes to you for a treat, give him a couple of commands. So he's not rewarded for the barking, but for following the commands. And not just one, make it like a real exercise. So he has already forgotten that the barking even happens. And no, yelling "shut up" is not a command. Those were some of the most common mistakes that I see, and some of these, like I said, were mistakes that I made myself in the past. So I hope you learned something today. I hope maybe you were even making one of these mistakes and it got corrected in time. If there was any help, please like the video and subscribe. If you have any questions or suggestions for videos in the future, let me know in the comments. I'm a small channel, so I will actually make a video if you have a question that demands it, or I will always answer a comment. Thank you so much for watching until the end, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.